In Hazbin Hotel, Adam is dead, a lost soul made it to heaven, and Lucifer's wife made a comeback. But where's God in this story, and how did Lilith end up in heaven? One of the main through lines in Hazbin Hotel Season 1 is the absence of Charlie's mother, Lilith, who we learn early on has been missing from hell for 7 years. Very little is revealed about where she might be until the last moments of the season finale.
Adam is dead. Your deal is done, and I'm in charge now.
Lutz then threatens Lilith directly, saying that she won't be allowed to stay in heaven anymore unless she goes down to hell and stops Charlie from upending the supposedly natural order. This raises a ton of questions. Why is Lilith in heaven? What kind of deal did she have with Adam? And did it have something to do with her being his first wife? Does Lucifer know where the mother of his daughter has been all this time? And why has she only been there for 7 years? One theory is that Lilith, famous for organizing hell and rallying its denizens under her banner, made some deal to vanish in order to protect her home from annihilation. Given how much Lutz seems to hate her, it's apparent that they aren't really on the same side. Still, there's a lot we just won't know until Season 2. Charlie's plan to defend the hotel from Adam and the Exorcist goes pretty well, all things considered. A lot of that is thanks to the intervention of her father, but she also devises a good plan and gathers soldiers and weapons to her cause. The only major casualty of a primary character is Sir Pentious, who dies trying to defeat Adam. The other characters mourn him, but in one of the last shots, we see his soul reborn in heaven.
Where am I? Oh. Hello?
As far as we know, this is the first instance of a mortal soul from hell being killed and rising to heaven afterward. Maybe all of Charlie's trust exercises paid off after all, or maybe there's something more mysterious going on. Either way, it's nice to know that Sir Pentious will still be around in Season 2. He could prove to be a valuable ally to Charlie and the gang now that he's on the inside. Although the circumstances of his apparent redemption remain murky. Is a selfless sacrifice really all it takes? Could it be that simple? Probably not. Alastor nearly gets killed by Adam at the end of Season 1, but he just barely manages to escape. In a final scene, he returns to his devastated radio broadcast tower and gives a few new clues as to his larger story, singing, "I'm hungry for freedom like never before. The constraints of my deal surely have a back door." Throughout the season, Alastor is usually the one offering to make deals with people. Husk owes his soul to Alastor because of an old deal they made, effectively enslaving him to the radio demon. This revelation that Alastor himself is actually beholden to someone else is interesting, and it throws everything he's done up until this point into question. Some have speculated that Alastor's entire role helping Charlie with the hotel is a condition of his deal. When he arrives in the pilot, he's been gone for 7 years, and he only returns to help her build the hotel and complete her redemption experiment. Knowing that someone is holding Alastor's leash, it seems like a long shot that this motivation would have occurred naturally. It's also worth noting that Alastor and Lilith were missing for the same amount of time. Is she the one who cut a deal with him, forcing him back to help her daughter? Or is there something more nefarious going on? The question of Alastor's deal and its origin leads to another question. Where exactly was he during the 7 years prior to the start of the show? While the shared time away between him and Lilith suggests a connection, it's hard to imagine the radio demon getting into heaven for any amount of time, especially since Adam makes no mention of a past meeting during their fight. In the mythos of Hazbin Hotel, hell is divided into 7 circles, each of which is connected to a different one of the 7 deadly sins. Pentagram City, where Charlie and the hotel are located, is in the Pride Ring. It's worth noting though that hell is much larger than what we see in Season 1. Even if Alastor had been living in some other corner of the underworld, you'd think that people would have known about it. Instead, they talk about his absence as if it vanished from existence entirely. This disappearance is made all the stranger because of how powerful he was beforehand. His conquest of hell and brutal murder of numerous overlords is infamous.
Every time an overlord went missing, there'd be a new voice screaming in the broadcast.
It's hard to imagine what could have made him abandon his campaign so suddenly and for so long. One thing that becomes eminently clear in Season 1 is that the angels of heaven don't actually understand what it takes for a soul to be redeemed. They know when someone arrives in their realm, and they claim that the heavenly afterlife is a reward for pure behavior. But Charlie proves that their own proclaimed measurements of goodness don't seem to work for her friends. When you take Adam's unbearable personality and the exorcist penchant for mass murder into account, the Holy Realm looks even less holy. The show as a whole deals heavily with the theme of hypocrisy, as many hell residents seem far more likable and less cruel than the leading angels of heaven. As such, it's not surprising to discover that the entire framework of redemption may be built on a lie, or at the very least, backward logic. Sir Pentious' arrival in heaven at the end of Season 1 throws everything the angels claim to be true into doubt, and things are made even more complicated by Lilith's presence there.
Wait.
None of you know what gets someone into heaven?
It's also worth noting that God is yet to be mentioned at all. In her opening exposition in episode 1, Charlie names heaven and the angels but makes no mention of a singular creator deity. It's possible that there is no God in the Hazbin Hotel universe, which leaves the question, who's really making all of the decisions about how heaven is run? Hazbin Hotel Season 1 begins with a history lesson from Charlie, who explains how the angels of heaven created Earth and humanity, how Lucifer and Lilith gave free will to Eve, and how they were subsequently punished for letting evil into the world. Even before Lucifer was officially cast into hell though, Charlie says that he was seen as a pariah by the other angels because of his, quote, fantastical ideas for all of creation. She also says that his delivery of free will caused evil to infect the mortal realm, but she doesn't really explain how. The biblical story of the Garden of Eden positions Lucifer as a deceptive villain from the start, but that's clearly not the case here. So why did his gift to mankind cause such a huge distortion? And why were his creative ideas, pretty innocent ones from what we see in the show, condemned for being dangerous? Given how hypocritical heaven is shown to be, it's likely that we're missing some key pieces of the story. Evil isn't exactly a hard and fast thing in Hazbin Hotel. The angels claim to be the guardians of good, yet they commit genocide on a regular basis. With luck, Lilith's return in Hazbin Hotel Season 2 will shed a bit more light on what actually happened with Lucifer in heaven and how the world came to be the way it is. Every resident of the Hazbin Hotel gets time to develop in Season 1, but Angel arguably receives the most attention, after Charlie herself, of course. His story is tragic, and it's hard not to root for him after seeing how brutal his soul deal with Valentino is.
Val, I didn't know that.
Angel endures endless abuse in Val's studio, and there appears to be no end in sight because of their contract. And now with the V's seemingly more powerful than ever after Alastor loses to Adam, things could get even worse. Season 2 has a lot of things to follow up on, and hopefully, Angel's liberation will finally come to pass. He's come so far in his trust of other people, and he has a family behind him now. There's bound to be a way to break him free of Valentino's control, but we haven't seen it yet. For most of Hazbin Hotel Season 1, Charlie carries herself with grace and politeness, often to the point of becoming a doormat. She chooses to be good and kind whenever possible, but she also has a dark side that peeks through very occasionally, such as in the final battle against the angels at the end of Season 1. Like her parents, Charlie holds immense power, and it comes out when she gets angry. Her body transforms into a more hellish shape, and it's possible that her demon form could be even more powerful than her father's. When Alastor makes his deal with Charlie to help defend the hotel at the end of Season 1, he promises that the favor he'll ask won't require her to hurt anyone. Still, it's hard to imagine him wanting the Princess of Hell in his back pocket for anything other than her powers.
One favor at a time of my choosing where you harm no one. In return, I tell you what I know.
His deal could be a trick with some hidden clause requiring her to enter demon mode under specific circumstances. The other likely option, though, is that Alastor needs her help to break free of his own shackles. If the deal that's keeping Alastor enslaved is indeed connected to Lilith, then it makes sense that it wants a favor from Charlie. Violent or not, it will probably require her to use her powers in some way. And while he's shown plenty of genuine affection for her, it's clear that Alastor still prioritizes himself over anyone else. Even though Charlie and the crew managed to kill Adam and fend off the Exorcist's attack, their corner of hell may still be in trouble. Vox, Velvet, and Valentino celebrate Alastor's defeat despite his escape. They seem to believe that with him at least briefly weakened, they'll be able to reassert themselves as the dominant overlords of Pentagram City. Other questions remain about overlords like Carmilla Carmine and Zestiel. The latter is still an enigma, though he seems to be far older than nearly every other character. Carmilla aids Charlie and Vaggie by equipping them with angelic weapons, which could backfire on her later on. Surely, Lute and the other angels won't take kindly to someone who uses their own weapons against them. For now, it seems that there will be a bit of a power vacuum. What happens with the overlords will largely depend on Alastor and how quickly he can return to full strength. There's also a chance that Adam could come back after being killed, possibly even being reborn as a demon in hell as punishment for his crimes. This would mirror Sir Pentious' own resurrection in an interesting way, especially since Adam is the one who kills him. At the very least, the first man seems far too important to the mythos of Hazbin Hotel to be gone for good, especially with Lilith coming back. Maybe we could even see Eve, wherever she is. Adam and his angels basically destroy the Hazbin Hotel in their attack, but with Lucifer's help, the gang rebuilds it. While it's nice to see the building standing tall once again, it's also hard not to wonder what will become of Charlie's grand plan for it. From the start, her plan was to help the souls of hell by redeeming them, putting them up in a hotel, and helping them leave their old lives of debauchery behind. Now that we know heaven is uninterested in accepting anyone from hell, that idea might not make sense anymore. However, the resurrection of Sir Pentious in heaven may offer an alternative method of redemption. To be clear, Sir Pentious dies before reappearing in heaven. If a second death is required for redemption to work, people may be a bit more hesitant to go through with it. Also, while Lilith seems to be the next step in heaven trying to knock Charlie off her path, Loot could always just lead another attack. Without Alastor's strength, could the Hazbin gang hold them off? The only thing that seems certain is that Charlie will keep fighting for her home and her friends. If there's a way to get out of hell or to make hell a better place, she's going to keep searching for it in Hazbin Hotel Season 2.